never bang. All the Muslim cars now, with your bag it up. Light up my scars with a sweet one, please. Someone flips me a bag it up. So, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.
What's going on, people? Welcome into another episode of the Stay Weighed-In show, presented to you by iBoxingHub. Today we've got all-star cast. Gonna go shout out to my man Ray. Ray, how you doing first and foremost?
I'm Phil. I'm very Phil. You know, shout out my Poroski speakers out there. If you know, you know. That's me for now.
What do you want me to do with that? But yeah, like I said, all-star panel joined with, again, returning once again, Ashanti. I'm not happy with what we got over there, but how are we?
I'm also very Phil. Just a quick shout out to Andrei Shevchenko, Alina Svitolina, you know, all of my people, my countrymen, my countrywomen. You know,
why not shout out Mudrik as well?
Who?
Mudrik. You might as well shout him out.
No, the winners. Only the winners.
Get out the injection, but that's beside
only the winners, please.
So no, thank you, but you know, just I'm very Phil. And I'm also loving seeing Moses part of the Australian Sea. So I've had a great weekend.
Yeah, I already know I'm going to hate this show. And also join with our brothers from the group chat. I've been telling you we need you on a lot more. Sherry, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. Thank you, boys, for having me on. I'm going to echo the same sentiments as the brothers from before. I am Phil as well. And very happy for the people of Ukraine and their absolute undisputed champion Alexander Usyk. So yeah, very happy with the result on the weekend.
Two-time? Oh no, soon to be two-time.
But he's two-time undisputed, isn't he? Cruiserweight and heavyweight.
No,
right.
Two-time unified.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So nice, had to do it twice in two different divisions.
It was nice for certain people, but listen, we'll go into the fight because Sherry, I'll go straight to you. What did you make of Usyk's performance in this fight compared to fight number one?
I think, you know what, like in terms of the score for the fight, I had it 116-112. So same as the judges, not that really matters, but like I think the pace was obviously different to the first fight. The first fight, obviously, Fury, you know, got pushed back much quicker and dare I say easier than this fight. This fight, he looked like he stood his ground a bit more. He kept the right hand tight as well, and sort of tried to hold the center ring a lot more. So stylistically, it was different. Usyk made those adjustments as well to not really get hit by that big right uppercut. A few times he saw it land to the body, but I didn't see it as much of a factor. You know, in the first fight, we saw that rounds 4, 5, and 6, that dominance that Fury had, because those were big rounds. In this fight, we didn't see a sort of sustained, you know, period of dominance like that. I think he had a big round 5 and he did well in round 10, just 2 rounds that I can sort of remember in my head. But the fight itself, I think it was a high level fight, minus the sort of chaos of round 9 and the other sort of action-filled moments of the first fight. So I think the first fight was better, like for viewing, but this fight was still very high-level stuff. I think Usyk was a clear winner, but Fury, you know, played his part again, and he did push him. It's not like it's ever been easy for Usyk because he's so big, and that sounds like an oversimplification, saying, "Oh, Fury's just big." Obviously, he does a lot of things very well. He's got good reflexes as well, but I think that extra weight he had as well that helped him take some of the left hands, because there's two or three times he got caught where he did look like in the face he felt them, but that helped him take them a bit more as well. So I was impressed with both men, to be fair, but Usyk, he's just too good, man. He's too good. He seems like he's inevitable.
We're going to talk about inevitable and one man, as Rico likes to say, post-virginity Dubois, but we'll talk about him soon. Ashanti, were you more impressed with Usyk in this particular fight? Because Sherry alluded to the fact that he couldn't control it as much as he probably did in the first fight in terms of pushing Fury backwards, but he still felt like he was in control, especially for the second half of the fight. Was there more that impressed you with Alexander Usyk in this fight compared to the first fight?
Great question. Actually, this fight, I think on a surface level, if you were just describing fights, you would say the first fight, the big 9th round, potential knockdown, potential knockout, but actually Fury came out really well. I thought, you know, being big, being imposing, not ceding ground, as Sherry mentioned, that's what he wasn't doing. He wasn't going back early on purpose. He was, I'm going to be big, I'm going to be in the center of the ring, I'm going to try and impose my dominance. But like we always say, he started just adjusting, and you just knew after 6 rounds, I was like, he's not losing. If I was a betting man and had £1,000 to bet, it would have been on Usyk, because I did think the extra weight, and I think we spoke about it in the preview show. He just comes on, doesn't he? He's mentally and physically just incredible. The footwork, the kind of slick side-to-side movement. There was no point really where I thought he was starting to really lose the momentum, and Fury was coming on so strong that I didn't see it coming. I thought Tyson is a really big man, a really, really, really big man. And I heard Chris Billam-Smith talking earlier. He was comparing if the size difference between Usyk and Fury, Chris Billam-Smith, it'd be like him fighting Terence Crawford.
Crazy.
When you think about it, it's 4 stone, and I'd say 5'10". Let's just say Chris is 6'3", 6'4". It's literally the same thing. Can you imagine? And he didn't beat him once; he beat him twice. He's masterful performance. Yeah, so impressed that Fury came out better, and still he unlocked the code and was able to make the right adjustments, and everything about it was superb.
Great, gotta go to you then. In terms of Usyk, and I know we'll talk around it, but as much as he did what he did in this particular fight, is there an argument that we're seeing him potentially just slow down a bit, or do you feel like that's never a conversation with Alexander Usyk in terms of being a boxer?
We said it. The guy knows when to kick in gear in important rounds. It's like, it's such an underrated, I don't know if the term is asset or mindset that he has, where he just knows, or is him and his team just knows, listen, it's like they, obviously I don't speak fluent Peruski, but it's like they just tell him, listen, we need these rounds. And one thing, I remember one of my boys, shout out my boy Sam, he said, Ray, Usyk will not let you, he just will not let you hit him without getting you back. That guy will get his lick back no matter what. Listen, in the words of Denzel Washington, he's leaving there with something. He's from round the way. Every single time Fury would think that he's getting off something, Usyk's coming back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And even if 4 out of the 7 land, Usyk knows I've done my job. And it's better than the nonsense. Listen, and this is another gripe here.
Say it respectfully if you're going to say anything about Fury right now.
No.
I'm going to be respectful.
Fury. This is because, you know what's worse? Fury's going to get a lot of heat from his detractors, not because of him, because in all honesty, he fought a good fight. He just fought the best. Those UK commentators were some of the worst nonsense. I remember I had to put it on mute, and then I had to, when I allegedly found another link, I started watching the Zone's alternative commentary, because they're the only people that were going to call it down the line. TNT Sport, Sky Sports, when it's like, they'll be like, oh, Fury's been hitting him with the jab all night, he's been working all night, it's been brilliant. And then I literally saw Fury throw 3 jabs and miss all 3. Usyk dodged 2 and he blocked 1. And they were talking about, oh yeah, the jab's been brilliant all night. I said, what's going on? And then Usyk will give him like 3 shots to the body. Silence. And I was just like, this is why more people enjoyed the demise of Fury, because it was almost like you lot are betting the house on him in a way that's so unethical. And I was happy that in the years that a lot of us have been used to boxing corruption, finally there was justice in just seeing championship fights fought without having to worry about judging. And this was one of them.
So I hear it. This is the one thing I will praise about Alexander Usyk, and it's the one thing I love when fighters do this.
That's one thing, that's crazy.
No. My point being is My point being is you guys have done a lot of praising, and fair enough. Like, I can appreciate what you say. My one kind of takeaway when I rewatched the fight, and this is why in some of the rounds I was like, right, who can I score it to? Then the final 30 seconds would hit of that round. And as much as I love Tyson Fury, there were rounds where I was like, that's a swing round. The final 30 seconds would hit. Alexander Usyk has left that final impression on me, and I'm like, I can give him that round because there's so less, not necessarily so less happening, but it's so technical in the middle of that round that your final impression is Alexander Usyk is landing that shot to the body, that shot to the head. And that I will give him a lot of credit for. He was able to manipulate rounds in a very clever, strategic way when they were super close. And that was also kind of forcing Sugar Hill to kind of give Tyson a bit more, to be like, look, you lost that round. You lost that round because of this. And what I actually enjoyed was you could actually hear Sugar Hill in this particular fight. And Tyson was responding back to him in a way where it was like, okay, this is an actual teacher-student type of relationship where they are listening to each other. So that's the one thing I will definitely say with Alexander Usyk in this fight, that if you ever wanted a lasting impression in some of the swing rounds, he was able to give that. Like, I scored the fight 160-130 because I gave the first round a 10-10. That's the way, because there wasn't a lot in that particular round. And I feel like that's kind of the case.
Say that score one more time.
160-130 to Alexander.
Is this after the first time or another time after watching it?
I watched it the second time. The first time, you got to realize, the first time when I watch a fight, I'm enjoying the fight. Like, I will try
what
this.
Was the first time? What was the score the first time?
No.
The first time.
Abbas and Ra, when he watches this, were saying every other round, Fury, and until the later rounds where I'm sure Abbas, I'm sure he wanted to enjoy the fight, and two, probably resigned to the fact that Usyk.
No, I didn't resign. I didn't resign to anything, but I'm going to talk about the scorecards later.
That Abbas and Ra, I'm looking directly at you, Ra. You two were doing some egregious scoring, and you was making
nasty work.
They called us hipsters for believing that Usyk was winning. I couldn't believe my eyes. This
was my thing. This was my thing. There wasn't a lot in the rounds at the start of the fight. In the first third of the fight, there's not a lot. So therefore, if you said Usyk and I said Fury, you can't definitively place where a certain person has won the round. There were certain definitive rounds, and then there were certain swing rounds towards the back end of the fight where Alexander Usyk was probably just a bit more stronger, which leaves that lasting impression. So therefore, that's why I gave it the way I did. We'll talk about the scorecards later because I understand why Frank is annoyed at him. I do actually understand why he's a bit annoyed at the scorecards. But Alexander Usyk...
I'm sorry, wait. Remember what the point you're making. Big Frank is upset because guess what? You finally found somewhere.
No.
You finally found somewhere
your
brown paper bag ain't gonna be helping you.
You know, I'm not a controversial guy. Frank asked people on the front row. Those people on the front row were Oscar, who has had issues, Eddie Hearn, who wants to make the AJ fight and so is in bed with Frank, and Frank Warren himself.
That's not the point. It's
why Fury's promoter thought that he won.
Fury won.
No, it's not about the win.
The guy that thought that Jack Carroll didn't beat Josh Taylor.
No. It's not about the win. What Frank was annoyed more about was how the judges specifically scored the second half of the fight. And I do agree with him because in the first half of the fight...
Whooped.
No. Listen to me. Let me land then because we're here and we'll talk about Fury soon. In the first half of them scorecards, 2 out of the 3 judges had him up. 1 had it a tie. Do you agree with the first half of them scorecards or not? Opening it up to... So you don't agree with that, Ray. Sherry, do you agree with that? The first half of the fight, according to the judges, 2 out of 3 had Fury up and 1 had it a tie. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so based on what we're talking about now, I'll be straight. I had it 3-3 at 6.
Okay.
So I had a Fury round 1, round 3, and then round 5. And then I only gave him round 10 after that. Yeah? Because, again, I felt like Usyk was pretty dominant on the back end. But I think round 10 was a Fury round. If other people don't think that, that's fine. But I literally had it 3-3, and then after that, he sort of Usyk took over. Round 5 was a big Fury round, and round 6, Usyk came out and took it to that next level again. and then sort of set the tone from there.
Just up the gear and said, "This is my fight."
That was it.
Can I give a bit of background on my scoring? I went to my old boys' day on Saturday. It started at 1 p.m. So I'm still out with my friends in a pub, a very busy pub in South London at 10 p.m. So it'd been a long day. And I then had to listen to the TNT commentary. So I won't lie, I probably was swayed a little bit because it was so egregious and there'd been some, imbibing of over 18s drinks at that point. And so I had it 3-3, but I haven't rewatched it. I may have it 4-2 to Usyk, but I did think it was pretty tight. I'm not going to pretend because I was in the pub, I don't have round by round. I just know, being with my friends going, that was a Usyk round, that was a Fury round. I believed it was 3-3 after a 6. I remember kind of being like, oh, close fight here. Let's see how it goes. And that was the kind of general consensus. But then at least 4-2, maybe 5-1 for the final 6. But again, I didn't score it, so I can't pretend that I have it all written down in front of me. Thought Usyk won relatively clearly. 3-3 after 6. Thought he won at least 4, maybe 5. So, but as I said, I'd been out and about for 9 hours. So
that's fair. That's fair. But then the second half of the judges' cards, 2 out of 3 judges scored nothing to Tyson Fury, and 1 scored 1 round to Tyson Fury. And that's where Frank's frustration lies, where he's like, you can really sit here and tell me that Tyson Fury in the second half didn't win a single round.
Yeah,
I gave him 2 rounds. I gave him 2 in the second half of the fight.
What were the 2? Do you remember?
9 and 10.
And do you honestly feel like
10 was more definitive?
Rounds? Were they convincing rounds, or were they rounds where it could have gone into Usyk's way?
10 was more definitive, and 9 more led into Tyson winning. The same way some of the rounds in the second half that Usyk won led into Usyk winning, but they weren't as definitive as they had to be. Nothing in that fight was insanely definitive outside of a few rounds for me.
That's fair, but it sounds like you're only really more convinced on that round 10, the same way Sherry was saying.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I can say that. But then there's only a few rounds that Usyk, for me, convincingly and definitively, where I can put £1,000 on that round and say he won that round, and you can't disagree with that.
Can I just add a point, bro? Sorry, this isn't actually necessarily just about this fight. I think it's just fights in general, 12-round fights, or any amount of rounds. No one has a God-given right to have a round, yeah? And what I mean by that is you can have a fight that is super, super competitive, yeah? Back and forth, and still have a 120-108, yeah? What I mean by that is the rounds are very, very close, but there's a guy that's just nicking all the rounds, or he's getting the round, and it can still be 120-108 and be a very competitive back and forth fight. You know what I mean? And as silly as it sounds, I can't think of a fight that's been like that recently, but I mean, like, it's happened in boxing history, hasn't it? You know what I mean? So for Frank to feel sort of, butthurt about, his fighter didn't get a single round in the back half of the fight, I don't see there's anything wrong with that. And that's not me pushing an anti-Fury thing here. Just in general, that could be Anthony Joshua in that instead of Fury, if you want to put it that way. But just because he didn't get around doesn't mean he wasn't competitive or had moments. The other guy is just better. However, some people on Twitter are saying, which again, it doesn't really make sense what they're saying, but I'm just trying to put it out there. They're saying, how can all the judges have it 8 rounds to 4, but they've all given different rounds to get to that score? That's a perspective thing, isn't it? The judges are sat in different parts of the sides of the ring. They're going to see certain punches, differently, certain rounds differently, but they ultimately still found the same guy the winner. So what does that tell us? That, outside of a corrupt decision for Usyk, which didn't happen, the guy won the fight, didn't he? He was the guy who had more success overall.
That's fair. But now I'll flip this to you.
Go on.
If the rounds are as close as we are saying it, if someone then flips the script and gives it to Tyson Fury, do you then get frustrated by that?
I would say I get where you're coming from, but I don't think that this fight was that type of fight where the rounds were that close. I'm just giving an example that can happen in boxing, where there can be a really competitive fight where it can still be scored a 120-108. Do you know what I mean? It could happen. But point being, I don't think it's that much of a big deal. Frank is just butthurt because his cash cow now has lost 2 fights back to back, and he hasn't really, had any luck. If anything, the first fight him getting that 7-5 is a joke. He should never have had it. That should never have been a split decision. It should have been a unanimous decision as well. Fury didn't win that fight. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
I hear what you mean with it, but I would say in that one, I thought Fury was more definitive in the first half, going in 4-2.
in the 4, 5, and 6, yeah.
So there was
him.
more
That's fine,
definitives, yeah.
He didn't have that
But-
here, so that sort of worked against him, I think, as well.
Can I add? This is a man who thought that Tyson won 8 rounds. So that's actually what you mean. You don't mean he thinks he should have got more rounds. He thought he won 8 of those 12 rounds. That's the same person we're talking about in terms of scoring. That he thought he won by 3 or 4 rounds. Can you tell me the 8 rounds you thought that Tyson won?
So I don't have 8, but again, it goes to that point, and Frank will always have biased, but I don't see where his point of view for the scoring of the scorecards doesn't come as much as it comes from an element of biased, and that's going to be there. I think there is a frustration with it where I'm okay to accept that frustration. I can see where that frustration comes from, because round 10, if we watched for, I promise you, round 10, at a minimum, we are all scoring for Tyson Fury. At a minimum, we will score for Tyson Fury in that round, because that's the round where after even 9, I personally think we will score for Tyson Fury. But there's the round where Sugar Hill says to him, and Tyson comes back and says, got the second win, comes out, and that's where I believe that's round 10, where he lays it on him a little bit more. So that's my thing, that I do appreciate where Frank Warren is coming from, where he's a bit annoyed at the fact that...
That's really fair, because it'd be much better if he'd have lost 115, 113. I would have thought of Tyson completely differently and seen the fight in a different way. If he'd have only lost by 2 rounds, it'd have shaped my entire feeling in regard to the night.
If I'm going to sit here and not be biased, Bivol Beterbiev, same thing. And I was on the flip side with Beterbiev, and I said what Sherry said there. You can have super tight fights. It's just because of the way rounds are scored, unfortunately, in boxing, the margin looks wider than it actually is. So I do 100% get everyone's point. I just appreciate what Frank's point is in this one, where he's a bit annoyed at the fact that Tyson didn't maybe get as many rounds in the second half as he did in the first one. But go on, Sherry.
Sorry, it's only because you mentioned Beterbiev and Bivol. I think that one, I had it a draw, I'll be honest, I had it 6-6. And I couldn't
That's
really
a
pick
real tight fight.
I genuinely couldn't.
Actually a real tight fight.
And I put a tweet out after the fight and I said, tonight we had a clear picture of a competitive fight with a clear winner, Fury Usyk won, and a close fight that could have gone either way, Artur Beterbiev and Bivol. Those are 2 different things. There might only be a bit in it, but they're 2 different things. And I think Beterbiev and Bivol was more to do with the polar opposite styles and approaches to the fight. This wasn't that. This was a guy who was just a level above against a guy who's still good and competing and pushing him, but there's a guy who's a level above. That's the way I'm sort of...
Nail on the head. That is, it's exactly that.
I don't know if I'm articulating it correctly, but yeah, that's what my...
But I thought Bivol was going to get it. I know that sounds stupid, but I thought that I preferred that style, and I thought he nicked it. But I thought that the judges and kind of the feeling around it, and maybe him Bivol being the Eddie Hearn kind of home fighter.
I was going to just say that's the bit that I'm worried about with the rematch. The Eddie Hearn love with Bivol and potentially him stealing that.
One final question from me: how long have you been in the Frank and Fury Defense League? How long's it been?
I think me and Frank built a genuine connection together. Eid. On Eid day, when I went down, visited Tyson, gave me a little smile, shook my hand. We didn't get the interview, but after then, we built a connection together. And then Frank, when I greeted him at Chisora, shook my hand, said, "How are you doing, sir?" And I replied back to him. So we got that connection going. Don't get me wrong, Eddie's cool as well.
I respect. Do you know what? I actually respect.
Granddad Frank with the suit, something of elegance about him.
I respect it.
Tyson, let's talk about our Gypsy King. So,
what's he the king of? Morecambe? It's not. It can't be the heavyweight division.
The Gypsy King. That's his mantra. Let's respect it.
But he's not the Usyk's the king of everything. He's taken it. Took it away. Took the crown away.
he's unified world champion, so we've given him his props. We appreciate exactly what he's doing. So we've done that. We've got to talk about Tyson.
Tyson's now the second best heavyweight in Britain,
I'll
factually.
take. Oh,
Daniel
okay,
Dubois got scrapped.
no, I can take that. I'm
Until
okay with that.
Tyson
No,
beats Dubois, you might
not
be
I
straps.
right.
can take that. No, I can take that. I can take second best heavyweight. That's fine because factually you are correct. That's fine. No problem with that. That then leaves AJ third, but that's beside the point. Tyson Fury, this fight, I'm gonna put it out there. I was more impressed with Tyson than I probably was with Usyk. And let me explain why. There was a lot of because Usyk went into this first as the favorite, right? And to be fair to him, executed a very solid game plan.
Wait. You talking about this fight or the first fight?
No, this fight.
He didn't come in as favorite.
You didn't think Alexander Usyk came in as a favorite?
I feel like he was the guy to win.
Okay.
But from the bookies,
No, the
to
bookies
the
had him favorite.
publications, to Turkey himself, to the organizers, to the promoters, this was how many of us said the fix is in and Usyk needs the knockdown because they're going to try to screw him over. They wanted Fury to win badly.
No,
And
they did. That's not the point.
One thing I'll give Turkey, for as much as he might have his fanboy moments of people that he favors, he has not allowed it to corrupt him so much that he puts the fix in. And that's one thing that I feel like we need to appreciate more about Turkey, not just this putting on the fights, but the fact that even when guys that he's, you could say, controversially supporting, he will let what be. Whether it's him thinking Bivol won, but Better BF still won, whether it's Usyk in both of these fights where he rightfully won, but in the past, if this was a like Queensbury promotion, we already know that fight's not going Usyk's way. So I'm very happy that even though the house was against Usyk, they still managed to do the respectful thing and give Usyk his props. Sorry, go ahead.
No, when I say favorite, I've got to put this out there. Favorite meaning betting favorite. Usyk was.
Was he? Fair enough.
Yeah. I have a thing where I like to just mirror things out because of American sports and stuff. But the reason I said I was actually
173 on Betfair.
Yeah.
Usyk and Tyson was like 2.2, 2.4. He was the betting favorite, like factually.
But the reason I would say I was actually impressed with Tyson Fury a little bit more than Usyk, and that's not taking away from Usyk, was what Tyson was doing for me, I appreciated in the sense that he wasn't overly allowing too early on to the ring generalship to get controlled by Alexander Usyk. He wasn't allowing him to push back. He wasn't being sloppy. And I felt like in the first fight, he was overly sloppy, in my opinion, in terms of letting his guard down that was higher up. And there was a more serious approach in this particular fight. I think one of the things that helped, again, like we said, was his corner. It was just 1-for-1. And he was listening to that. Yes, there were points in the fight where, unfortunately, for him, he couldn't control what Usyk was able to do to him in terms of controlling that actual ring generalship and pushing him against the ropes. That did start occurring more in the latter half of the fight. But for the majority of the part, I felt like the fight was fought where Tyson Fury wanted it to. It was just, unfortunately, when he was landing his jabs, they were more touching the glove rather than touching the body. And you could see where Usyk was able to mix it up a bit more. He was able to go down and hit that little greedy belly of his. He was able to hit the hooks to the face a little bit more cleaner than Tyson Fury. But overall, I was more impressed with the second time that Tyson Fury fought him than the actual first. What was your take, Sherry, on Tyson's performance overall?
I've actually been thinking about this today. I'm struggling to pick which one I thought was better from Fury. And I know that might sound like silly considering what you just said, but when I think of the first fight and the dominance he had in 4, 5, and 6, where he beat Usyk up for those 3 rounds, they were clear. There's no argument on that any of those rounds being an Usyk round or any way sort of leaning towards him. He beat him up. He kept him at range, uppercut to head and body, just nonstop. He was on him, and that sort of sustained dominance it stays with you. And that on this weekend, I didn't see that. I only saw that in round 5 and 10, where he had kind of moments where he did stuff like that, but he didn't again sustain it. So 4, 5, and 6 will always stick with me from the first fight. This was more of a disciplined performance and defensively astute performance, I'd say, where he didn't, get into trouble. So I think the fact that he didn't get into trouble this time psychologically makes us think he did better.
Okay, fair
as
enough.
well. That can be something. And the lack of showboating and all that, we think, he took it more seriously. I don't think the showboating was ever him not taking the fight seriously. That was him looking for breaks from the action so he didn't have to fight. Showboat, step back, and try and do things to make the crowd and the commentators psychologically think, it's like he got hit with a 1-2 in the first fight, and then he did this thing on his head and started sticking his tongue out. And my mates were like, look at Fury. I was like, look at what? He's not getting a point for that. The guy just landed a combo on him. He's just doing that to psychologically bamboozle you. Fury's very clever like that. Do you know what I mean? And he's like that in the ring. He's more expressive and all that sort of stuff. In this fight, he was more locked in because he had to be. He couldn't afford to do that because he nearly paid for that very badly the first time. But that's where I'm sort of stuck on saying, was it a better performance this time around because he didn't get hurt as much, but he still lost by the same margin? Or did he have a better performance in the first one because of that dominance in the 3 rounds? I'd be tempted to say he did better in the first fight, only because of those 3 rounds, like I said. And I know that probably doesn't make sense because it's not giving the full picture because he got hurt badly, but those 3 rounds were dominant, whereas here he didn't sustain any type of dominance. And he was, I think, in his head when he came into the fight, when they had the face-off at the beginning and he started doing all that stuff with his eyes like he did in Wilder 3 and all that, and Usyk didn't didn't react at all, and then Fury's face just dropped a bit.
Yeah,
I thought, okay, he's realizing again now. This guy, I need to just box.
Do you think he does that more for himself? Because at some point, you must realize, from the language barrier to just how Usyk's demeanor is, he doesn't care.
Don't care, bro. Yeah, he don't care.
He doesn't care. When people used to be like, "Oh yeah, mind games," I'm like, it's not the smartest mind games. It's just more of Fury knows he's an annoying prick at times, and for some people it can get under. Because Billy Joe Saunders used to do the same thing, where he just knows he's an annoying bugger, and it's similar to when Billy Joe faced Canelo, and Canelo is just like, one, English ain't my first language, so I don't give a crap about what you're saying, and 2, I'm not where you're from, so all your little cusses that you're doing, I don't care. That's because it's like the reverse. Imagine if Usyk started trying to trash talk Fury in his home language. Fury's gonna be like, "The F you say? I don't care." I know it's MMA and we're talking about boxing right now. I remember when Jose Aldo was going against Conor. Well, even though this didn't go the way of Jose Aldo's way when he faced Conor, I remember a reporter asked him, "Does the crowd get to you?" And he goes, "I don't understand what they're saying, so I don't care."
I'm Brazilian, so
I don't know what they're saying. And I feel like Tyson Fury is almost like he needs to hype himself up and get the crowd behind him and then make people believe his presence. And then I think by the second fight, everyone just sees through it. We don't believe it. You keep on doing the same shtick. And it's like, this is Usyk, not Wilder. Like, we don't care. This is the guy that whooped you. We're not trying. We don't. All that demeanor stuff can work if you're winning, but when it's the guy that beat you, we don't care. He's already shown that he can deal with your nonsense, and then you're doing it again. But hey, man, the best man won, so that's all I'm happy with.
Ashanti, what about you? What was your thoughts on Tyson's performance? Sherry made a good point about the sustained offense, and I do agree with that. But I think, like I said, I think for me, this was a fight where both guys didn't have a genuine level of sustained offense, but they did have, in moments in rounds, Usyk probably more than Tyson, where they were able to win rounds. I think one of the things when you mentioned about the uppercut, Sherry, I don't think Tyson pushed him back enough to close the range to be able to land them uppercuts to the body where he did in 4, 5, and 6 as much. But Ashanti, what was your overall thoughts on Tyson's performance?
It's actually so difficult because everything Sherry said, when you think about it, it was a close fight, it was a good fight, and then it almost fell apart in round 9. So that's where you can say it was a better performance. But I think I'd slightly edge towards the second fight. I prefer the additional discipline, the lack of showboating. I know, Ray, you made a good point about how it's part of it gets him up, but actually I quite like that, very disciplined. He clearly had a game, or they were trying to work towards a game plan and try and almost match Usyk in the stoicism. I liked that, but I don't want to be cool here, but I think we spoke about it in the preview show. Kind of going over old ground, whether it was a better. I remember Eddie Hearn trying to tell me how wonderful AJ's second performance is against Usyk, and ultimately it's a bit facile. It doesn't really matter. I know it sounds mean, but in 5 years' time, no one's going to remember how well AJ did in the second fight. Everyone's going to go, was it 0-2 against Usyk? No one's going to go, oh, see how his jab looked in the second fight? Remember in round 4 when he started popping out? Oh, yeah, that was nice. It, like, truly, Fury, great fighter, elite fighter, world champion, superb. We're kind of going over old ground. It doesn't really matter whether it was a little bit better. He lost the unanimous decision. In a year's time, particularly if he fights AJ, all we're going to remember is 0-2. And this isn't a wind-up Fury or pro Usyk. I think it's true. It even happened. You mentioned the Josh Taylor Catchall 1 fight. If they hadn't fought for a second time, all Josh Taylor needed to say was, yeah, I'm just unified champion. I won the first fight. And even though we all know he lost it, look on paper, look at history, look in the history books. It's like, well, I don't know what Jack's saying. Has he ever won a world title? I beat everyone. And so I agree. It's great to talk about, but it genuinely doesn't really. Fury's not going to be thinking, oh, yeah, like, yeah, I'm really happy with tonight or a few nights ago because I was better. See how disciplined I was. I listened to Sugar this time. It was far better in the corner. He's going to be just thinking, this guy's a brick wall. I can't beat it. This is awful. I'm trying to spend time with my children, and all I'm thinking about is after 6 it could have been equal, and I wasn't able to kind of fiddle through and win the fight. I think so anyway.
No, I hear it. I'm going to talk about Usyk's legacy and what's next for him. But Sherry, this is where I come to you and your notes that you've got about Tyson Fury. I look at him as one of the best heavyweights we've got in Britain. In terms of the current gen, he's only going to go below Usyk. He's ahead of AJ. I could potentially put them on par, but I'll explain why I have Fury just ahead. But for me, like I said, second best heavyweight because he's not been able to go over against Usyk. And I know a lot of people will say the resume is not anything special, etc. The way I look at this is, at the end of the day, to what Ashanti's point is, we're not going to break down round by round. What we're going to probably break down is, at the highest of highest levels, when a fighter retired, did they fight everybody they were supposed to? And if I look at Tyson Fury, the only name that's really missing off that resume is Anthony Joshua at this particular point in time. Regardless of when and where certain fights were made, whatever the political side of certain things were, he was able to get three fights with Deontay Wilder. Also did 2 fights the similar time with Alexander Usyk. Fought Klitschko before AJ fought Klitschko and was able to beat him in Hamburg. I look at Tyson Fury and I honestly think he's disrespected as a boxer because, and to Ray's point, fine, whatever, there's too much clownery that comes in, there's too much said, and some people think he doesn't back it up. But I think outside of 2 fights where he's fought an all-time great, he's backed up everything he's able to do. Your point on Fury and what you think of him as an all-timer.
There's no conversation you can have with Tyson Fury and the word all-time in it. Yeah, first of all, respectfully. That's not I know. I don't know. I think you meant to say all timer there. I think you meant about his legacy in general, didn't you?
In British side of thing, not all time.
Sorry,
all
pardon
time,
me.
but-
Sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah, in terms of British, sorry.
Okay, yeah. British heavyweights, then he's definitely up there. He's in the conversation, isn't he? Obviously, Lennox Lewis is clear number one.
Sure.
When you said about him being above AJ as well, I'd have to say probably right, yeah. But there's nuances and context to everything, isn't there? This is where people can make arguments for either side. I think, look, Fury in the ring on his night, great fighter. No doubt he's a great fighter. We can't deny that. When he beat Klitschko in Dusseldorf, that was that unlocked the key to this division 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And then the point about, he beat Klitschko before AJ, obviously, of course, AJ was still only a novice, then he was on 10, 11 fights, 12 fights, or it was 13 fights. No, 15, sorry, did Dylan White. He fought Dylan White 2 weeks later, didn't he? So it was a different, situation. AJ's career, obviously, then the IBF title got vacated and they pushed him straight into a world title fight, didn't they? Because they had to take the opportunity. And they wanted to sort of fast track him, essentially. I think Fury, as good as he is, he's only got big wins in isolation, but his actual resume itself is very subpar. I'm not saying he's got a terrible resume. Like, he was the first guy to beat Derek Chisora in 2011. So he's got that win, yeah? Then David Haye messed him around for a few years, or a year of his career got wasted. He had what's the guy's name? Was it Rudenko? He fought in 2014, and then he fought. I forgot his name. I said I took notes and I didn't really. I was joking. But
Let me bring up the Fury.
I think he fought a guy called Rudenko back then, and then he fought 3 months later, fought Chisora on the same night as Billy Joe Saunders in Eubank Jr. That was 10 years ago now, when he beat him in Southpaw the whole fight and stopped him. Andrei Rudenko, wasn't that?
He fought Chisora
2014.
2011.
And then
In 2014, it was Joey Abel, Christian Hammer, and in between was Chisora, and then he went to Klitschko.
I don't know. I think it was meant to fight that Rudenko guy, and then he ended up being someone else. That Joey Abel. Yeah, Christian Hammer was 2015. He fought in February, and then he fought Klitschko, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, it was fine. There wasn't really an issue because he fought Steve Cunningham in America as well, so he was doing fine. I appreciate after that the whole failed drug test, being out the ring for 2 years and coming back. The tune-ups were fine. Seferi was fine, and Pianetta had fought Klitschko before for the world title, so he was still a serviceable guy. And he fought Wilder for the world title within 6 months of being back after 2.5 year layoff. So you can't really criticize that part. It's a part after this now, from there on. Yeah, he was never a money guy prior to that Wilder fight. It was the performance and getting up from the knockdown that he went viral, and that sort of blew him up, kind of thing, everywhere. Top Rank then came in and gave him a 6-fight deal, 20 million guaranteed per fight. And this is what pisses me off now. Pardon my French. Yeah.
No, it's fine.
If you can go 12 rounds with Wilder and you're saying he's the number one, this is all the narrative they push to make AJ put him on the side and these two sort of take the limelight. If you can say Wilder was the number one heavyweight at the time, which he wasn't, AJ was probably number one because he fought better fighters and unified. If you can say that Wilder's the number one heavyweight in the world and you've gone 12 rounds with him and majority of people think you won, but you got shafted and you got a draw, why is your next fight at Tom Schwartz? And why was the next fight an Otto Wallin? Why was he not fighting higher ranked guys to get some meaningful wins in? Now, they can argue, they agreed the Wilder rematch a year in advance and they agreed 2 interim fights. But Wilder fought Luis Ortiz, who nearly knocked him out the first time he fought him, and he fought Dominic Breazeale, who was still a decent fighter at the time. So Wilder actually fought 2 better fighters than the guy that everyone thought was better than Wilder. Why didn't Fury fight better fighters, number one? And he almost still went wrong against Otto Wallin.
The Otto Wallin one was scary.
Any other fight, that would have been stopped.
Yeah, I've said that. I said that constantly.
Because 4 months later, the rematch was already signed to happen. Yeah. That would have derailed everything. Then what happens? Okay, COVID hit after he beat Wilder. Yeah, brilliant win. Great win. Great performance. Probably the best performance of his career. Yeah, pure beatdown in a style that we hadn't seen him fighting. Whereas that proper crunk style, composed, educated pressure, beatdown, yeah? Generational beatdown. Wilder was never the same after that. That's fair to say.
Yeah.
COVID hit. Almost 2 years later, the rematch happened. February 2020 to October 2021. In between all the shenanigans, negotiating with AJ for the undisputed fight, which he's a fighter, so I don't blame him. But Bob Arum...
Is that the when he gave him 5 days to decide?
No, This was 2022. This was 2022. We'll get to that. We'll get to that one, yeah. This is 2020 during COVID, when Fury put up that video and said, Daniel Kinahan, thank you so much. He's got me the AJ fight, 2-fight.
Get up there, my boy!
Yeah, all that business, yeah. But the arbitration was still going on with Wilder. So as a Harvard lawyer, how did Bob Arum not know that this could potentially be an issue? and all the smokes and mirrors, and with Eddie Hearn saying 1 more week for 6 months. Oh, it's gonna get announced, and then boom, in May 2021 we hear, oh no, Wilder's won the arbitration. July 2021 rematch is announced. Then obviously Fury pulls out. Yeah, he pulls out, and then it gets pushed to October.
Wasn't
During
in
that
shape,
time,
but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Then his daughter was born, and she was not well. I think she nearly passed away, and he was staying in hospital. That's all fair. As a human being, we can say fair enough. So he didn't train. He went into that rematch in terrible shape. That's the only reason that rematch was even competitive. But we ended up getting an all-time chaotic heavyweight bout, title bout. That's fine. Cool. You had to honor the rematch. That's fine. Even the next fight is okay. As shit as Dillian Whyte is, he was his mandatory. So he actually carried out his duty as a champion, which surprised me. He fought his mandatory. Yeah, fair play. Yeah. So he fought his mandatory. Then he says, oh, I'm retiring. So he vacates his Ring Magazine belt only because he wanted to join Muhammad Ali by winning it back a third time. So he's shithousing his way to a stat. Yeah. He's Bruno Fernandes. He's a stat padder. That's what he does. Yeah. That's what he does. So hear me out.
Hey, listen,
what I'm saying is
I hear you.
No,
I hear
he's
you.
cooking. He's cooking.
No,
Keep
no, I
going.
hear
He's
you.
cooking. I'm eating
He's
right now.
got the timeline, which I'm fine.
Sorry, I'm not rambling, but I'm trying to give a year-by-year breakdown of what he
Yeah.
did, yeah? And why it pisses me off. So that, yeah? And then he says, I'm retiring. He goes away for a few months. The WBC now are saying, oh, we're going to give our champion a bit of time to decide what he wants to do, yeah? That was in April. Why did they wait till September, nearly 5 or 6 months, giving their champion time when he's repeatedly saying, I am retired, I am retired. You've got a division sitting there, people waiting, paying sanction fees. Get on with it and crown a new champion. But they knew what was going on, and they knew that the sanction fee that they're going to get from him was much bigger. Fast forward to that time, December, he's been running down Usyk this whole time, and bodybuilder, AJ, blah, blah, lost to a middleweight. Chisora's a journeyman who I beat 10 years ago, and then they announced that fight. Ajit Cabal was a name mentioned. Manuel Char, even though he's rubbish, was a name mentioned. Yeah? They knew they couldn't sell out Tottenham in December without a British name, and Chisora's that warhorse. Yeah? So that's fine. So they made that fight. They announced it. Chisora was not even in the top 15 for the WBC. They then put him in a week later. Yeah? So all this shenanigans, and Frank's pulling and all this shit is happening in the background. Shithousing the way to a stadium sellout. Fair play. They did it. But let's not pretend that he could do it against anyone. AJ can do it against anyone. Fury can't. He only did it because Dillian Whyte was a Brit and Chisora was a Brit. But fair play. These are the celebrations you were talking about in the group chat. These celebrations for beating Wilder. Well, he was banned from America. It wasn't because he was celebrating. He was banned from America. Otherwise, he'd say, fuck you. Pay to see me in Vegas, mate. Yeah?
To be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing.
Why was he banned?
Listen.
Drugs.
Listen. I'm waving this off. I'm waving this off.
I'm not done yet.
Sorry, oh my gosh.
No, because I know where you're going with Francis Ngannou. I know where you're going with Francis Ngannou. I know where you're going with Francis Ngannou, but go on, carry on. I know where you're going with Francis Ngannou.
I'm still talking about Chisora, yeah, because I missed a few points. Yeah. So Chisora now, yeah. Oh, he's me, old mate, Del Boy, another champion who wants to fight you. Let's rewind a year. In fact, after he beat AJ, Usyk beat AJ, and Wilder beat Deontay. Fury beat Wilder. Sorry. There were negotiations for step aside for Dillian Whyte and AJ so that they could get the undisputed clash on. Fury fucked around and said, wasted time. Yeah. It was never going to happen. I'm just saying, but point being, there were discussions had. Yeah. And we've never heard anyone ever say Usyk has waited someone out or he's ran towards a fight every single time. There's no way we can say Usyk wouldn't have taken that fight. He would have. Yeah. Whatever would have happened is a separate issue, but he would have taken the fight. Fury's always been the problem when it comes to these type of things. Yeah. That's fine. Let's go back to 2022, yeah? So December 2022, he beats Chisora.
Yep.
Why did it take him 10 to 11 months to get into the ring against a novice debutant MMA fighter? Why didn't he fight contenders in between? He could have got 2 fights in a 1 fight. Why did you do it?
That fight between... They were working for the Usyk fight.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, you're right. Wembley, what business, yeah. 70-30.
They were working that.
All this bollocks, yeah.
When that was then made, that was made towards the end of the year. I can't remember if there was any issues that happened prior to that where it got moved.
Wait, what?
To the end of the year.
What fight again?
Usyk Fury in December.
Let's remember. Let's not forget. It took Turkey forcing his hand because one thing that you didn't allow Sherry to land on as well. If we must not forget that Fury was holding the division ransom again. And then he kept on telling, what did he tell Usyk? You know, he said 60-40 at first.
And
Then he goes
70-30.
70-30, and Usyk goes, you know what, bet.
Yeah, safe.
And
Yeah.
then Fury still said no.
I do remember little things,
how
you got
how greedy?
the
How much
belly's
more
big.
greedy
The
can you get?
the belly is big.
70-30.
The belly is big, and commercially Tyson Fury is the bigger name. But with that point, fine. What we got to realize is my whole point isn't the fact that he's not taking time to fight people. My whole point is when the clock stops, when it hits midnight and his career is
I
done.
know what you're saying. When it's all said and done, he'll have those names on his
he
resume.
will have the names on
yeah.
regardless of when they arrive, how they arrive. There are certain people that you have gone through, some in their prime, some naturally not. In my opinion, I would say he's gone through the fights that he's meant to navigate somewhat in their prime. Or at the height of where they were the best. It's the same way when Canelo Alvarez retires, when we look back and sit at his resume, regardless of what he's doing right now with the division and cherry picking his fights, Benavidez, etc., where we put that to one side, when we all sit down and look at Canelo Alvarez, the one thing we'll be able to say is he fought Gennady when he was meant to. Yes, there may have been some things at 160 beforehand or whatever, but he fought him when he was meant to. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder won. He got that fight more because he wasn't the champion going into it. Fine, whatever. I can appreciate that. The main thing was he still got the fight. When he did the Klitschko fight, it wasn't a Klitschko that went over the hill. That's not me saying anything on Joshua. I think my point being is he still took the fight at a high peak level. The trilogy with Deontay Wilder. Go on,
Canelo
Ashanti.
and Fury should not be in the same sentence.
No. My point being,
I was letting him finish. While I had my
their drug tests. We should not mention those two in the same name.
No, we don't. You gotta realize, Ashanti, if you know about me,
No. Abbas is in turbulence, and I want this plane to stay.
No.
That's what letting him land before I said anything.
Nastiest.
My point being,
on his clock. I'm just waiting for him to land.
I'm not trying to be funny. Yeah, people can say whatever they want about Canelo now. Canelo on route to undisputed.
Yeah, it was
we needed to.
That's what
post Mayweather, Canelo put boot to ass against many a great people. Even if you felt like he didn't win the Gennady fight, that guy went hell and leather with Gennady. Tyson Fury should not be put in the same analogy when you're talking on Canelo, talking about he faced people when he was supposed to. Because in reality is, Wilder fought Tyson Fury at the time because he thought, let me take advantage of this guy whilst he's out of shape. Now, I will give Tyson credit, put on an incredible performance, but let's not act like that fight was made out of pure competition. That fight was made out of spite and Wilder looking to take advantage. Now, Fury's second fight against Wilder, my goodness, his best performance for me today. What a performance it was. It broke the facade of Wilder because the guy
that hurt me, You do realize that hurt me more than any.
Listen, it probably hurt you because you found out two things. One, your boy got washed and your boy got found out. But for me, if Wilder is Fury's best win, how good is the resume?
No.
Yeah,
Klitschko is Fury's best win. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Klitschko's best win. Klitschko win in Hamburg. Do you remember the time Klitschko was undefeated for so many years? I know it wasn't his home country, but Hamburg was his de facto kind of Germany. We know kind of the links with Eastern Europe. He was a rank outsider, and the Furies were talking nonsense, and everyone was ridiculing them before the fight. I've got to say that Klitschko performance. Sorry to interrupt, but I actually agree with Sherry. Halfway through, I was like, I thought that Fury's resume was better than AJ's, but actually AJ's is quite a lot clearer. But the highest of highs, that peak.
That's my whole point.
That's his point, yeah.
That Hamburg night will go down in the history books in terms of British away days going there.
Underdog levels, the underdog level.
There was a problem with like the sponginess of the rings that they were talking about. He just did everything he said he was. Has anyone seen that hotel video? I think it's on the night or the day before. He's there like rapping with his brother or one of his cousins.
That's an iconic night.
He said he was going to do everything he said. He was like, I'm going to beat you up. And Klitschko was just looking at him like, mate, I've got a doctorate. This isn't happening. And then just ran through and unbelievable.
That's my whole point. That is my whole point when it comes to Tyson Fury. I can take on board when people say the resume is not as elite. And I always, if you look at a resume for me when it comes to boxing, is if you are an elite top fighter, you will have them names on your resume at one point or another. Tyson has them outside of AJ, which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, but
the mid level, the going into it, maybe not as strong.
No. He has no mid level.
There is no mid level. That's the point.
He's got maybe like Nia Long when she was 35, Lauren London, and then he's been out in Skegness, and like that's where he's meeting people in kebab shop. Like,
yeah, but
there's
fine,
no,
whatever. That's fine. Like, there's no harm in having an average resume.
Like,
there's no harm in having an average resume, but then eventually having the high quality opponents and being able to have some form of a winning record against them, because technically he is 3-1-2 against high quality opponents.
Okay, Abbas. Sorry, bro. Yeah. I get the angle you're coming at. Yeah. And the angle, the way you're putting it is all very nice, and it's very, you're putting it in a way that a lot of people will say, yeah, fair point. And it is a fair point. What I'm saying is, if you map out what the guy's done, the way he's done it, there is no consistent form as a champion. Yeah. Deontay Wilder was his first title defense in the rematch. Yeah, Wilder 3. Then he made a mandatory defense against Dillian White, even though Dillian White's shit. That's not Tyson's problem. He's mandatory.
Yeah,
so he ticked the box by making one mandatory defense. Yeah, in a 4.5 year title reign. Wow, but he ticked the box. Yeah, cool. Then he gave his old mate a payday, beat him up, and referee stopped him. Yeah. Then he sat out the ring like a dickhead, didn't defend his title, and fought a 10-round exhibition/official fight against Ngannou and embarrassed the sport of boxing. Yeah.
Well, did Floyd not embarrass the sport of boxing against Conor McGregor?
No, he didn't, because he battered him and stopped him.
No.
And he was a retired fighter. He was a retired fighter. He wasn't a champion.
Abbas,
he wasn't a champion.
Now you've only got 3. You are on your second warning.
He's trying it. He's trying everything. He's trying to elbow me. He's trying to headbutt me. He's trying. It's not going to happen.
Wasn't Ali doing this as well back in the day?
No, we are not doing this.
They weren't reigning, defending world champions. Yeah, that's my point. If he wanted to do that, vacate the title.
No. Hear me out. The Ngannou fight, I would say this. That was meant to be a glorified exhibition that went wrong. That's what I will say.
Talking about the timing of it. The problem wasn't having an exhibition fight. The problem was, brother, you are supposed to be focusing on Usyk. Why are you taking this right now?
That was the thing. So the thing was,
Ngannou. Floyd didn't have hands when he beat the life out of McGregor, and we all know it was a money play. He could have knocked him out.
But that's my point. The Ngannou fight was meant to be a money play in between, but it just went terribly wrong.
That's the whole point. Why are you doing that money fight?
Why are you doing that in between? There's an undisputed fight sitting there. Yes. Why are you risking getting knocked out by a guy who's putting the biggest?
He was never going to. That was the thing.
You were never going to. He got dropped. He you can't trust this guy. This is the point. You can't trust him. He embarrassed the whole sport. He embarrassed the whole sport to the point we then had to bring in Anthony Joshua to clean up his mess. Yeah,
take it seriously.
That's not to make the conversation. Yeah, exactly. My point is that Joshua's disciplined and he takes shit serious in it. He ain't gonna mess around. He went in there and flattened the guy. That's exactly what any world-class boxer should be doing to any top MMA guy who transitions over. Smack them straight up first round and get them out there and show them jog on back to the cage and take your hot dog and $20, mate. That's fine. Yeah, that's what you do.
You know what? We should be sitting here to a point praising Tyson Fury for giving Francis Ngannou the opportunity.
Forget that, man. Listen, Abbas, you're a wind-up merchant. He's a wind-up merchant.
What happened?
Ray. That's it.
What is the name of this weekly show again? What's it called?
Stay waiting.
This is not change this to wind-up merchant, bro. This ain't
no. But I do get you guys' point.
You are talking shit.
No. My point being is
you are really a fury. You're very furious for real.
3 knockdown rule soon. I might have to bring the WBC in.
Listen.
You've been hurting him. Leave him, Sherry. He's
Mauricio Suleiman and me, we have a connection.
Abbas,
Abbas.
I know what you mean. My whole point has never been about timings. I don't care about timings to a point. I don't care about timings.
I'm fine with it. No, timing matters. Floyd was 94 and done. If Bud now
he was retired for 2 years.
You know
when
what?
He fought McGregor.
I'm not getting a fight. I'll just beat up some Jake Paul and then fought someone big afterwards. I'd be like, bud, you cleared everyone out. All you do is just batter people. Take your one fight, like rest up, heal your bones.
That's what he does. He does one fight a year anyway, Bud Crawford. So that's his.
Not another shot, bud. No, thank you. No,
that's
no,
that's what he does.
Is the worst shot. This
Boots
is
tried to do it. I'd be like, Boots, mate, you're only a single, like you're not a unit, like you need to do more. The timing does matter, of course.
Abbas,
do you not listen to Floyd?
This deflection that you're doing is
This
is worse than Fury.
I can see you thinking hard, Abbasi. I love it. Yeah, look, I've painted that whole timeline for you. These boys jumped in as well. Yeah.
No. Sherry, I'm waving this fight off. It's done. Abbas, I'm sorry.
No, because you got to realize, fair enough. I've got nothing against. No, you guys are not getting my point.
Show, Abbas. Close off.
Okay, no,
because your last show. Let him make the point.
No, because I want to talk about AJ and Fury quickly with Usyk as well. My whole point is fine. Whatever the timeline is, the timeline. But he will eventually get the names, and he has got the names. So in his peak condition, for most of the guys that he's fought. In terms of the guys that he did end up fighting, the Deontay Wilder's, your Alexander Usyks, your Klitschko's and stuff. So he's got them on his resume. I just feel like he's disrespected a bit with that. But if you get frustrated with Tyson Fury, fine, you can have it. AJ.
Yes.
Does that happen next year or not?
It has to happen. Surely, I think all the lads on here, we know that's the biggest fight in British boxing history, even with them both coming off losses.
Yep.
Yeah, the heavyweights, it's the land of the giants. They were the two legitimate dominant forces of the last 10 years in Britain at heavyweight and arguably on the world stage. Wilder didn't fight anyone apart from Luis Ortiz and just about got through those in the first one. Second one, he iced him. Fair play. I think we're talking about
context.
Yeah. So, I think that fight has to happen for just their own legacies as well, yeah? But I'm still not having what you just said there. I'm sorry, I'm going back, yeah?
In what way? What bit?
About you keep going back to that same point and you just keep, nicely, yeah, but, he got the names in the end. That's fine. But his resume does not add up. It doesn't stack up. For him to say, Fury says, we know this is not the case now because of what happened in the last two fights. He's not an all-time great heavyweight. He never was. That was all bullshit. You have to build some sort of consistency in a resume and have a certain number of world title fights, yeah? Fair? You can't be an all-time great with one or two world title fights. Nah, you can't. Let me
think. The reason I say this is because you could have a heavyweight who defends his belt 10 times and not be considered an all-time great versus a heavyweight who has 3 or 4 very huge marquee fights, or 6, may not necessarily win them all, but will be classed on a greater level. Yes,
but now we're talking about the amount of belts. Then we're talking about the amount of belts, aren't we? Is one guy just against a guy who's unified in 4 big fights?
No.
1A and 1B. No, sorry.
Theoretical words are lovely.
Yeah.
No,
they're fighting for second place, basically.
Listen to what I said.
AJ and Fury are 2A and 2B.
No. I've not mentioned AJ. Listen to what I was about to say just now. Listen and use your head to where I was going with it.
Dizzy.
No.
You don't realize this. You know what you are right now. When the fighter's been knocked out, he doesn't realize he's been knocked out, so he gets up saying,
No. Sherry made a good point. Sherry made a point about a fighter that defends his belts more and has a resume of defending his titles.
Mm-hmm.
That
against
you guys,
viable opponents,
against the best given contenders.
Okay, fair enough. Then now I can't go to my point.
Fury's never done that at the other point. Yeah, he's wiggled his way through the division. Yeah. He didn't fight, for example, neither did AJ. Luis Ortiz, hypothetical, the one that everyone said. Safe, no problem. He didn't fight an Andy Ruiz, who was there, sitting there for 2 years on the sidelines. He didn't fight a Dominic Brazil, AJ was early.
He didn't fight Joseph Parker.
They're mates, but fair enough. He could have fought him if he wanted. If it's world title, you make it.
I heard him calling out Daniel Dubois going,
we don't need to do Daniel Dubois.
No, that's what Frank said. Frank has said that in 3 interviews. I wouldn't look to make that fight. Why
not?
Need to do that. Making you millions make that.
So far,
he wants to protect Fury from getting knocked out.
Ngannou.
Yeah.
No,
so you got resume.
Dirty thing. Because what you guys have to also realize is we know what certain fights were on the line, so you don't need to overly complicate them and just get fights in between. Of course it does.
Abbas, if you are champion, you fight the other champion. If you don't want to be champion, you relinquish the belts, you do what Floyd did. Because as much as people like to get onto Floyd, Floyd done the one thing that I always respected. He would have a big fight, then he would relinquish the belt and say, I don't need this because I'm Money Mayweather. And that is why I could never, that second part of his career, I could never hold it against him for holding up the division, because Floyd didn't try hold all the belts and try to be like, look at me, I'm undisputed. Floyd said, no, I just need that WBC belt. That's the only one I'm going to hang on to. I'm going to whoop everyone. Everyone will get paid. But it wasn't like Floyd would hold the WBC and the WBA and the WBO and the IBF, and no one else could become world champion whilst he's not fighting.
Tyson just held the WBC for the
And
previous
that,
decade.
and you know what? And
Deontay
the difference is when he had the WBC,
the rest were with AJ, who was working with Usyk, and
the rest were with AJ, who was actually fighting the contenders. That's why I could never.
The contenders were not of any real value. Is my point.
Great.
What do you mean, Dubois and Usyk? What are you on about?
No. That's on the latter end.
That's not on the latter end. That was literally. Wait.
Are we really looking at them as genuine?
Usyk was straight after. He just
Pulev
became.
He beat Ruiz, then Pulev, then Usyk.
Yep, exactly.
Can I ask one question? Abbas, this is not against you. Can you name me 3 wins Tyson Fury has that's better than Alexander Povetkin? We have to also remember, I know that's amateur, but I believe he was a 2004 Olympic
gold medalist. Yeah, correct.
Sparked out Dillian White. I know Dillian, whatever level, but that was that was a serious WBA world champion. So yeah, you have a look on your it's not a trick. I'm being genuinely serious. Fair. I respect your opinion. Genuinely serious. 3 better wins. Obviously, it's not Dillian White. But I'll just say that one off the bat.
Outside of Klitschko.
Outside of Wilder and Klitschko, by the way.
I'd say Wilder. That's why I said 3, because I think he'd be 3.
No, but that's I've got 2 out of 3 there anyway with Klitschko and Wilder.
Yeah, but we said outside of those big ones.
No, but
outside of those.
No, but I've said that to you guys. I've never debated the fact that the resume is not elite. That's never been my point. But fine, if that
on AJ's 5 or 6, again off the top of my head, I'm not.
What's that? Sorry.
What would he be on AJ's number of opponents, best wins? Povetkin 5 or 6 maybe on AJ's. Klitschko again, obviously.
You know what? He'd probably be 2 or 3.
Do you think so? Would he
you know why? Because his best win was Klitschko. Granted, people can say what they want about Klitschko. You know, this narrative again. This gets me excited.
He knocked AJ down.
That's fine.
It was very competitive.
Hold on.
I said what I was saying. Klitschko had not looked at like that in years.
Bro, that version of Klitschko was better than Klitschko been for about 7-8 years. Yes. The most obsessed version. He said himself, "I am obsessed. I want to be part of that 3-time heavyweight champion list of 4 fighters. I want to get to that list." Bro, people to this day, 8 years later, say that they'd never seen Klitschko show that much heart until his last fight. Yeah, because he was called a coward and a jab and grab artist and all this stuff and all this rubbish. Yeah, which. That's fine if that's what he was, but he showed heart that night, bro. For a 39-year-old, 40-year-old man to get up 3 times and still, go for it. Yeah, he hurt Joshua. He fought with him. He didn't fight scared. Yeah, but point being, that only took place 16 months after the Fury loss. Yeah, people say it was two years after. That's bullshit. Yeah, there's 24 months in 2 years. This was 16 months after. Yeah, no, it's facts, isn't it?
Those people
you want to
are
round up and down. You want to round up and down. That's closer to a year. Yeah, if you do it the way they teach you maths in school, you round downwards. Yeah. So it's closer to a year. In that year, Fury pulled out 2 rematches. Let's cut the bullshit. Yeah, man was out partying in Euro 2016. Yeah, saying I hurt my ankle. And there's a video the next day of him jumping up and down, buying everyone shots. Yeah, he was overweight. I'm not saying he ducked him from fear, but he didn't live that disciplined life to.
Yeah, but we know that. We know that anyway.
No, but it's not an excuse, though, is it? That's the point. You fucked over a 40-year-old man who had a contractual rematch who was against the clock. Yeah.
So he then went for AJ. Oscar. But that's
hold on.
The point.
AJ.
That's
Oscar's thing.
We're done.
Oscar's a cokehead. It doesn't matter what he says. Yeah.
I have already told you about bringing up his name. You cannot be bringing that man's name up with Tyson Fury. It makes no sense.
That is his
different languages. I already told you about Skegness and Chelsea and Lauren London and Nia Long, and you didn't heed the warning.
I want Sherry needs to land this because we need to finish this soon.
Sorry,
But that is your third strike. You're done, Abbas. Go on,
After
Sherry.
Sherry, can I make one point on what he said about the AJ? No. After you.
Oh, sorry. So we'll probably say Vlad is his best win and the most iconic night, one of the most iconic nights in British boxing history. Yeah, that set things off. That obviously Vlad wasn't a champion, but the WBA said this will be on the line for this fight. So AJ then becomes unified champion. Yeah, in his 19th fight. Yeah, he then goes on to fight is mandatory for the IBF. Kubrat Pulev pulls out with an injury. So Carlos Takam steps in. Serviceable guy, last minute notice. Yeah. He fights him. Then he goes and unifies against Joseph Parker. 3-belt champion. Yeah. In his next fight. Then he goes and fights Alexander Povetkin at Wembley. Alexander Povetkin was probably the standout second heavyweight behind Klitschko in that previous era. He was knocking people out Spark left and right and center until he ran to Klitschko and got battered himself. That's fine. Cool. Olympic gold medalist as well. Fair enough. He had drug test fails as well. So did Fury, by the way. We've mentioned that as well. So let's be fair. Yeah. AJ hasn't failed a test. Even if we think he's on something, he ain't failed a test. So you got Vlad, Povetkin, Parker, probably 3 best wins. And they're all top wins. Considering what Parker's gone on to do afterwards as well, he had a career resurgence. That's fine. Povetkin's top notch.
Credit for that Parker win.
Klitschko, that version of Klitschko as well. Obviously, from a sort of scientific point of view, his body was aging more. He's out of the ring for a year and 16 months. So it wouldn't have been maybe as on point as he was against Fury, but it was a completely different style of fight. And he was obsessed, like you said. So he had something else driving him. It wasn't just a defense against a guy in Germany where he was comfortable. He had to now come as the opponent and G himself up and go and show heart and give it a go. And he nearly did it. Yeah. AJ has consistently done the duties of a champion. He's fought his mandatories. He's unified. And he behaved in a way that was what you say a champion should behave as. However, before you bring up the Usyk, 2 head loss, that's fine. Yeah. He got to that point, fought Pulev again. Then when he could have vacated the title against Usyk, when everyone said vacate, he said, nah, I'm fighting him. Why? This is what I don't get. People hate on AJ, but the man has never, ever turned a fight down. Yeah. And let's not say, oh, he ducked Wilder or he ducked Fury because he didn't. That's bullshit. Yeah. When you're the name, Abbas. No.
I don't hate AJ. I don't hate
you.
AJ.
I'm on about people out there,
okay.
Yeah? They say, oh, he's boring. He's one of the worst fighters ever. All this stupid shit. Clearly, you don't watch boxing, yeah? Because the guy carried the sport in this country. When Fury was off on his coke binge, 2.5-year drug ban, and mental health problems and all that, who carried the sport? He took it to heights that we've never seen before in this country. And Fury then realized what he's missing out on. Do you know what I mean? You don't get your, what were you calling them? The Fury celebration tour. You don't get that unless AJ had the 4 stadium fights first. He set the tone. He made that happen.
That's fine. I've never said anything bad about AJ.
I know.
In terms of
I'm just painting a picture.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
And then whatever's happened with AJ after that, that's fair enough. He lost to Usyk, 8-4 twice. Yeah.
In between, I think that's
Andy Ruiz.
In between Andy Ruiz.
Sorry, he lost to Andy Ruiz as well. But guess what? He went back, immediate rematch, and beat him, won it back. There's not a point.
But I think we knew that he was going to do that. I think that Andy Ruiz fight, I don't know how to explain it. It was just a poor performance. Like Dubois was different in terms of the way he was beat there, because that was a beatdown. That was a beatdown.
Yeah, he wasn't in the fight. Whereas Ruiz, he knocked him down, then it went pear-shaped. That's fine, but these things happen in boxing history. When you fight everyone, you will lose. If you go and fight the best available competition, you will lose. It can happen, yeah? AJ's never ducked anyone. He's never played any games or vacated a title because I don't want to fight this guy. I don't need to. Fury, do you know what I mean? He hasn't got that sort of behavior in him. Yeah, granted, you can do what you want in boxing because it's the Wild Wild West. I get it, but that's my point. His resume, he has no consistency. AJ has, I think, 13 world title fights. I think, and what's his name? Fury's had 8 now, but 3 of them against the same guy, and then 2 of them against the same guy. It's like, do you know what I mean? He hasn't built a resume. That's the point I have.
You know,
never be.
Yeah, but
AJ for me and him. That's why I'd put him on the same level. I'd put him on the same level in terms of resume. Because although he's got those 2 standout wins, he's done nothing around them. And he's avoided and caused the division to everything to be pushed back always. He's been a negative in that sense for the division, as much as him as a character and as a name has brought, eyes to the sport. Really, AJ has been the star. I mean, him and Wilder had to fight each other to be relevant, ultimately, because AJ was a money guy. He was offering them flat fees because he was a money guy. And like you said, if you're the money guy, you can control the narrative. If it's okay for Fury to do that and fight Ngannou because he's the money guy, then why wasn't it okay for AJ to offer Deontay Wilder 15 million flat fee in 2017 when his highest purse at that point was 1 million in 2016? Why did Deontay Wilder turn down a 15 million payday when his highest payday was 1 million?
That is something
Example,
you would have to
I'm putting it out
ask
there to Lance.
Deontay
I'm saying,
Wilder and his
yeah.
team.
Let me hug you. Let me just
No,
hold you.
no. But you got to realize, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. My
We're
whole
not
thing.
saying no, but we're not saying from getting the 3 strikes to the cherry on top from Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
What a performance! What a
Sorry.
debut from Sherry.
Sorry, boys. I get heated. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but
No.
No, but you got to
I'm
realize,
here for it because
my whole thing has
Abbas
always been this.
agendas have been needed to be stamped on, and my goodness, what a performance it was!
But my agenda's not been stamped because it's not got an agenda. My whole thing isn't. I've never cared. You've got to realize this is the way I appreciate long-term resumes. Fine, whatever. My whole thing is when everything gets said and done. To Ashanti's point, where he said about the fight in general, is where I kind of also divert that in a whole picture for resumes as well. In terms of when the fight gets done, one person won, one person lost. We don't care how the person eventually fought. When a resume gets completed, we're going to ask this question: did they fight everybody they could potentially fight at the highest level? And that's where I look at Tasabi, and I feel like that's where the disrespect comes, because he has done that, regardless of how he's navigated throughout the rest of his career.
No.
He just told you how he didn't. Have you heard of Luis Ortiz?
No, not even that. Do you know what it is? Look, I don't like, and I'm not gonna put you in this. I'm gonna call it the internet culture, where they like to do stats with no context. We are not doing stats with no context. I was there. My eyes saw what I saw. We experienced what we experienced at the time. So yes, I get on the history books, because it's almost like when people talk about football and the younger generation that didn't see the hazards of the day play, and then they'll try to tell you that, oh, he weren't that good. I saw his GA. That he weren't that special. He can't have been all that good. He didn't score that much. And I'm just like, no. I watched with my eyes, seeing how this guy
that's fine.
and all the big 6 teams. The same way we're saying with Fury, stats-wise, with no context, it doesn't look as bad. However, we was really there, and we will not let history be dictated in a way that's going to lie and give us just stats when we know what it took to get to this point. We know the struggle what it took to get to this point.
It took money. That's it. As simple as it took money
it's not as simple
for
as
Eddie Hearn to Frank Warren to sit down and work together.
If it was just money, he would have accepted the 70-30. It took Turkey.
Yeah.
It wasn't just money, because it was the fact that Turkey had enough principles to put in place where not only am I going to provide infrastructure, but there's not going to be no corruptions when this happens, when this finally goes down. That's why it happened. It wasn't because it was just money, because if it was just money, guess what? Tyson's underground links have had money to wash away.
We don't go there.
Yeah.
We don't go there. If you don't go there, come on.
To the dark side. You know what?
We don't go there. Respect Tyson. Allegedly, put the allegedly up there. Stamp it up.
I want no issues. Shout out those fine gentlemen that put on the fights.
Exactly. You're killing our baggy. Yeah?
I think that's our time.
No. I just want to quickly talk Usyk. Quickly Usyk. Where does he realistically go? Because I saw Daniel come out, and I'm going to say this. If Daniel Dubois did not have Joseph Parker next, I'm fine with doing that. Because you've got Joseph Parker coming up, who is not a gimme fight that you can just take lightly. You didn't need to be out there calling that shot.
It was
It
was crass and tasteless. Read the room, and I understand.
But you got hear me out. That's my point. My thing is, if you didn't have a fight already landed, I don't mind it, because we take the mick out of Daniel Dubois.
No, it's not that. That's what this is what I mean about reading the room, brother. The guy Usyk right there is talking about the sacrifice he's making. Is like a very somber, humbling moment, and the fact that we know that it's not Daniel that got put up to it. The fact that whoever's in this team has told him, go in there and make a buffoon of yourself in that moment. it's like what we've spoken about in the past with, let's call it the West. We've got this obsession of making everything a spectacle, and it's like sometimes, please, let's bring back class. Let's just have a bit of class. Like it's not necessarily the same way when Arthur had his great victory, and as much as Bivol might have disputed it and thought that he won, he let Arthur have his moment. He didn't come in and start shouting on the mic saying profanities, and sometimes it's like we need the powers that be need to change the culture. And we can't always be celebrating nonsense. That's all that was. That was the Westerners' view of saying, "Oh my goodness, this is a key moment. Let's make this like viral." And it's just like, it's not every day we need to do that, man. Sometimes let's things be, I won't say pure because boxing's far from pure, but in a moment where boxing business has gotten in the way of great moments, let this great moment be. And if you are going to do the call out, it could have been more respectful, but the whole jumping in whilst he's talking about the sacrifices he's making, and yeah, it was just crass. It was just crass.
Do we need that fight?
No.
Anybody put it out there? Do you
even if the bar beats him?
No,
even if the bar beats him, he's done everything he needs to do. His name's in the books. We've seen what he's done, whether it's just stats alone or context and stats. What Usyk's done has been magnificent. If Dubois gets his lick back, so what? As bad as it sounds, because this is another thing. Usyk is slowing down. This fight, he has slowed down a lot. Despite how good he looked, he has slowed down. And me personally, I would want him to retire, but I think the competitor in him just wants to lap the division a second time, just say he done it. I still think he's playing with fire and playing with Father Time's got a good resume. That's all I'll say. So
one last thing from you guys, because I need to shut the central eating. Usyk, what's his legacy for you guys? Anybody just jump in, say it before we wrap up.
The best of his gen.
Completed boxing. I was researching him earlier, and I know she gets a lot of stick. There's only one other person I can say has done that, and that's Clarissa Shields, and she's done it in a far easier, I mean, I was literally looking earlier. Amateur world champion, I think amateur also European champion, Olympic gold medalist, obviously undefeated, undisputed cruiserweight champion in the WBSS, which is, I wish it would come back. I know it's kind of coming back almost with Turkey, but that was one of the best things ever. Like the way that we knew the fights were coming. Beat Bradis, great fighter. Did he beat Dorticos, or did Bradis beat Dorticos?
Gassiev beat.
Yeah, but he beat Gassiev too. Always away. Like everyone's backyard. He just was like, you know what? Send me the contract, send me the money. I'll come and beat you in your house with your parents watching. I don't really care where I am. And now comes up to heavyweight as so much smaller than everyone else, and has just gone. I looked at a video recently. Tyson was saying a little bit xenophobic. Was saying that the heavyweight champion
belong in the West. Yeah. In 2019, he said that.
Well, why didn't he tell himself that in the last two fights then?
not even a little bit. It was fully xenophobic. And then he had the xenophobic comments straight after his fight. But
that's a bit different. But the first one, fine. The second one,
no, we're not excusing.
You see things in the heat of the moment sometimes.
I'm sorry. No, we are not doing that. And I don't want to go into it, but I don't just casually get into the heat of the moment and start saying racist and xenophobic things just because. We're not excusing that, but go ahead, Ashanti.
Sorry, Usyk's the guy. He's. I'm not going to talk about all-time greats. I don't know enough about boxing or where to put him, but best of his generation and genuinely complete two-weight undisputed champion.
Yeah, I think what the boys have said there, Abbas, was bang on. He is the greatest of his generation. I don't just think heavyweight. I think he's probably the greatest boxer of this whole crop, based on what he's done. And I think the key thing that collectively as boxing fans we have to look at is, we've mentioned it a few times on the podcast, this is not a pure sport. This sport is full of shenanigans, corruption on the base level. Yeah, just on contract level, there are probably all sorts of little things they try and squeeze in to shaft someone. The guy was never aligned to a top promoter fully. He never had anyone's full backing. He went everywhere as the B side, essentially, to their backyard. Yeah. Won the fights clear every single time. Even if certain fights were tough, he still, managed to get through them. He completed boxing in the most purest form with no big money, rocket ship up his ass. He wasn't the money guy. He wasn't the big name. Pretty much always the perennial B side, but there was never any controversy. He won everything clear and he's clocked the game. He should retire.
Yeah, as well. He can't currently have a homecoming in his country because his country is at war against one of the richest, largest countries in the world, and he is fighting with his whole country on his back. He went to war for them, and then I don't know if it was the president, but someone said we want you to fight to bring morale and to make our country proud. So go to Poland and just start whacking other people, and that's what he's doing. The man, what are we doing here?
He's a one-off. He's a one-off, literally.
And your point, Sherry, on the B side, he's not got Eddie Hearn, his mouthpiece. And I'm not saying judges get paid off. I just mean he's never had the big backing where the judges are staying in the Ritz and they've got a nice stipend. He's just literally have gloves, will fight. Is it enough to feed my family and maybe give a bit of money to my mum and dad? Yes, it is. Right. I know I'm going to beat you, so I'll get more money the next time I fight.
And Abbas, Ashanti, just to add to that point, what you just said, it reminds me, he did have maybe 2 or 3 fight deals with Matchroom and Top Rank. How many times have you seen, if you don't sign them, they'll try and shaft you on the way out? He still got through undefeated. He still got through undefeated. You never heard him duck anyone. You never heard any purse issues. There was never an issue. It was just Usyk running to the fire every single time, and he got through. That's why he's the pure definition of a boxing champion at the top level.
You know what promotes anyone else so true on Eddie Hearn? Oh, I'd love Fury to win because he's British and the fight would be set up. It's like, well, you're not promoting him 4 years ago. Like, he's dead to him. I don't even know if he knows Alexander's first name or Igas Klimas' name. Eddie's just like, yeah, well, Team Fury. It's like, I literally have seen you sat next to him at post-fight press conferences telling me how great he is, and now, chop liver. Yeah.
That's promoters for you. They only care about the next pound, don't they? They don't care about the pounds they've already spent. They don't care about that. But this guy, he's one of the GOATs. He's up there, pound for pound, number one, and he should retire. Honestly, I don't think he'd have an issue. I think he could beat Dubois again if you fought him next year. But it's just a risk he doesn't need to take. You've already cut the game. Go. Leave on top. Don't let the sport retire you. You retire from the sport. Best way to do it. That's what I think.
Any final words before we wrap up?
Listen, man, what a showing from, once again, thank you to Ashanti. This potentially is the last episode of the year, so I just want to thank you guys. It's been an amazing year of boxing. It's been an amazing year of content with iBoxingHub. Ashanti, Sherry, thank you once again. This is probably our longest episode ever.
Sorry, that's my fault.
No. And sometimes in life, because I love my co-host Abbas, man, we've had great episodes together, but sometimes there needs to be interventions for those that need help. Sometimes our loved ones need help, and I feel like today we gave an intervention. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Dave Chappelle skit of Rick James when Rick James goes into Eddie Murphy's house and puts his feet in his couch with their cowboy boots, and then Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy absolutely start punching in his legs. And then I remember Charlie, is reciting the story and he goes, Eddie for a moment feels sorry for Rick James. And he's like, damn, I feel bad that we done that to him. I think Rick needs help. And Charlie goes, shit, we just gave him some help. I bet he won't do that again. This is that moment where Abbas of realizing we are not tolerating nonsense agendas no more.
Ray,
it is with love. It is with love.
Before we finish, Ray, I'll tell you one thing, Abbas as a fellow Pakistani and a Muslim brother, there's a special word we have for people at Abbas, and Abbas probably knows the word I'm going to drop now. It starts with in our language, it starts with a B. There's 2 words. To me, they pretty much mean the same thing. Be-sharam, that means lack of shame, Lack of shame, Or one that's at the level above Begaret, which means complete lack of any integrity.
I just say Be-sharam.
Be-sharam,
Be-sharam.
Or Begaret, That one's a bit nastier, but that's what he is. He's got no shame. Look at his face. You don't care. I'm still going to
like that. Be-sharam. I'm going to remember that for the future.
I'm still going to be the 2025 behind Tyson.
Some people don't want to be
because he's 7 foot plus anyway, and I'm only 5. Whatever.
I respect that, but have a bit of shame. Let's have a tag.
As J.
Astute.
Cole said, yeah, she don't want to be saved. He don't want to be saved. He don't care.
He don't want to be
He's happy
saved,
being
don't
shameless.
save him.
Allow him.
You gotta
Let
realize-
him be deluded. It's fine.
But this is what you don't get, Sherry. You
I
guys
get
think
everything, bro. I'm the one that gets it. You don't get it.
No. You guys think I'm bad here. You haven't seen when I defend Canelo Alvarez.
No.
different-
I've
'cause-
seen
'cause-
it, but at least here's the thing: Canelo has credit in the bank for me to. I don't like what Canelo is doing right now,
Yeah, I agree.
but
Yeah.
he's got enough credit in the bank for me to say, do you know what? Do you
did
think?
his
And
thing.
I even said to you, I don't even mind if Canelo does what he does. Just relinquish the other belts. That was always
Yes.
my thing.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go down the Mayweather route, keep one of the belts and relinquish the others. Don't stop other people becoming world champions in your division because you want
Keep
to
the Ring magazine, no sanctioning fees, and you're still
yeah.
number one guy. Let them carry on.
Bam.
That's it.
Abbas is out
Abbas-
here in these Morecambe streets. That's what I know.
No, it's too far for me to
Abbas-
travel. It's too cold right now.
Abbas, the fire's over. Call it, man, please.
He ain't gonna call it.
Listen,
With love.
we'll be going for 90 minutes. It's been a great year. We're gonna wrap up, guys. Appreciate for coming on. Merry
Much
Christmas,
love.
and in the words of Tyson Fury, Happy New Year.
It's another bang. All the Muslim cars now, with your bag it up. I talk my scars with a sweet one bliss. Someone flips me a bag it up. So, it's another one, yeah.